Once the battle began, it became clear that the war elephants of King Porus's army posed a serious threat to Alexander's army. The huge elephants, the likes of which the Macedonians had never seen before, caused fear and chaos in the army's ranks. But Alexander's courage and field intelligence made the elephants a double-edged sword. They led to chaos in the ranks of King Porus when he lost control of them. In 326 BC, Alexander the Great was at the height of his power and glory after he had controlled the Persian Empire and most of the ancient world. But the young king's ambition did not stop there. He looked to the east where other battles and lands that had not yet been discovered awaited him. Alexander headed with his army to India, where there were powerful and rich kingdoms that did not await him. He crossed the Himalayas and began to conquer the kingdoms one by one until he reached the Hydaspes River. On the other bank of the river, a real challenge awaited him: a strong army and a brave, stubborn king who was not afraid to confront the strongest armies. Alongside his strong men and the land worker, the army of the brave King Porus had an army of elephants trained for combat. Alexander chose to cross the Hydaspes River late at night to create an element of surprise in the battle. By dawn, the Macedonian army had crossed the river. The obstacles appear at first glance. It is clear that King Porus's army is organized, and the elephants are lined up at the front of the army to form a strategic shield for them on the battlefield. Alexander's forces were not accustomed to facing such huge elephants in battle. They were screaming at them and attacking them relentlessly, which created a state of chaos and panic in the ranks of the Macedonian army. But Alexander, with the mentality of a commander, realized that he had to use a different tactic to confront this threat. He decided to use the cavalry to carry out flanking attacks on Porus's army to distract the elephants and open gaps in the army's ranks. As the pressure increased, Porus's army became almost surrounded from both sides. The frightened elephants began to cause chaos in the army's ranks, creating more gaps. Alexander ordered the infantry to press and open more gaps in the middle of the enemy's ranks. The battle continued until midday. Alexander's forces attacked and opened more small forts, and Porus's forces tried to defend. But with the loss of the advantage of the armored elephants, the army's resolve fell, and the gaps in the army's ranks became greater. The brave King Porus realized that the battle had become almost impossible. With the cavalry surrounding the sides of the army and the infantry advancing to the center, the battle became decided. However, King Porus and a small group of his loyal and brave soldiers stood on the battlefield. Alexander noticed King Porus's bravery and was impressed by it, so he ordered his soldiers to stop fighting and sent one of them to ask King Porus to surrender with honor. When Porus was asked how he wanted to be treated, he simply said, "As a king." Alexander decided to keep him as Macedonian, but under Macedonian command. In an unexpected move, Alexander decided to restore Porus to his throne, but as a subordinate ruler of Alexander, and granted him additional lands to rule, making him one of Alexander's most prominent allies in India. Alexander's strategy in dealing with Porus was part of his broader policy of building alliances and friendships more broadly, realizing that military power alone was not enough to control his large empire, and it was better to build alliances with loyal men who enjoyed popular support in every part of the country he conquered. The Battle of the Hydaspes River was a turning point in Alexander's campaigns, as Alexander agreed to the request of his exhausted soldiers to return home and stop military campaigns in the east. The journey home was long and difficult, but Alexander's decision to withdraw from India was final, as he felt that the soldiers were tired of the many wars. The Battle of the Hydaspes, Alexander's ambition to expand, and Porus's courage in defending his kingdom